Welcome back. As we begin the second month of the new year, we thought we should shine the spotlight on the Department of Arts and Culture to get a sense of what their plans are heading into 2019 and how far they are in resolving the crises at its agencies such as the Market Theatre, the National Film and Video Foundation and the National Arts Council. And joining us to unpack all these issues is the Minister of Arts and Culture, Mthethwa. And he's coming to us from our studios in Parliament. A very good morning to you, Minister. Thank you so much for making the time to come on the show today. Now, we're only in the second month of the year. How would you sum up the department's work over the past year?
Well, thanks, Pearl, and to your viewers. I think the department has worked very well. As you know, that the mandate of the department in the main is, together with others, but leading a process of nation building and social cohesion. And the entities, therefore, of arts and culture are geared towards doing just that. Some strides have been made over a period of time in bridging the gap, of divide between the races, on other intolerances like xenophobia, fight against the discrimination of people with albinism and so on. So I would say that we fairly are doing our part, including reintegrating our own country into the continent, particularly culturally. And socially, also economically. So I think, though, we would continue to have challenges which are meant to strengthen our resolve to a socially cohesive nation.
And very briefly, what would you say you consider your legacy to have been over the last 5 years?
I don't know whether we'll talk legacies, but I will say what we've been busy doing in the past 5 years. One, we concentrated more primarily on training, education and development in the sector. We've had a lot of bursaries and funding of such. For instance, every year we produce not less than 400 students supported by the Department of Arts and Culture on language promotion in all the major universities around the country. We have established or funded academies which are meant to go beyond the talent within the industry, but build skills. For instance, in December, we opened one of them, the National Academy of African Performing Arts. We have the Technical Academy under SARA, South African Roadies Association, which looks at the most critical part of this department and the space, particularly at a technical level. I can go on and on. So that's one part. The other part which we sought to do was to try and get into an artist, look at the interest and aspirations of artists and see as much as possible to meet them and help them to ensure that they reach their dreams. We've also went to lengths in ensuring that the people of South Africa understand that they are part and parcel of the continent. The programs like Africa Month, for instance, which was influenced by Africa Day, the 25th of March, and we decided that to deepen the national consciousness, we need to dedicate the whole month to, the issue of Africa's Renaissance and so on and so forth. So we can get into a space where we even mention the social cohesion advocates that under the leadership of Judge Mohoro, they've been able to touch the very issues which affect communities. We can name many. The flag campaign, which is about our identity and so on. And we continue to do what we can do to ensure that at the end of the day, we build a nation, because we never had a nation before 1994.
Minister, the department has just hosted its first SA Film Summit. What would you say stood out the most for you at the gathering in terms of some of the biggest challenges that are facing the film industry at the moment?
Perhaps let me start by saying that we have identified film industry as one key industry which we should unleash economic potential from, so that South Africans benefit out of that. But we also see the film industry as a key arsenal in forging unity amongst our people. That's why when we met this week, or beginning of this week, we spoke of owning our story, telling our story as South Africans, but also locating the industry like we do in other aspects of our work to the fourth industrial revolution. There would be challenges because first and foremost, this is an industry which does need a lot of support financially. Each movie will take you anything from 2 million to 100 million, as it were. So it needs support insofar as that is concerned. The funding becomes an issue. What has been a challenge within the industry is how we as government have attended the industry. We agreed that there should be a consolidated way, a harmonized way of supporting the industry so that the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. But all in all, this we have a potential here because as members of BRICS, South Africa, we have started to engage our counterparts, the ministers of BRICS in these countries, on the treaties, audiovisual treaties, because we are eyeing the access to the markets of these countries who are members of BRICS, at the same time looking internally on the continent to make strides on the area.
Okay, Minister, we have quite a few things that we need to get through just in terms of the agencies. But let's quickly talk about the National Film and Video Foundation. There's supposed to be a replacement of the previous CEO. How far is that process of replacing the former CEO? And also, what is the status of the department's forensic investigation into allegations of mismanagement of funds and the waste of funds at the foundation?
Well, the first thing I want to commend are the whistleblowers out there. We are intolerant of bad governance, of allegations of maladministration, of corruption, of nepotism. So, arts and culture has 25 entities reporting to it, and a couple of them have been reported to be on the wrong side of the law by the whistleblowers. So we've gone about to swiftly deal with such. NFVF is one of them. The process we are asking about is at an advanced stage. Interviews have been made and so on. And people would be, the CEO would be announced soon. But all I can say, talking about NFVF and others, for us it should be a lesson to any entity of government that will not hesitate to act where we are told that wrongdoing is taking place. And I want to encourage whistleblowers to do more. So that we are able to nip in the bud of agencies which are supposed to assist a very delicate and needy sector and you have people doing their own things. That will never be tolerated.
All right, Minister, so I think we can also expect to see action against those who have been found to have done any wrongdoing in terms of mismanagement, nepotism and wasteful expenditure at the National Arts Council as well, where there's a situation regarding its CEO, Rosemary Mangope.
We definitely will. Remember that these you are referring to are not the first ones. We had the South African Heritage Resources Agency, for instance, where with immediate effect the CEO was fired, and others who were with her on that case. Their matters have been referred to law enforcement agencies in the country, and the same will happen if we come to a conclusion, or the investigation come to a conclusion that the wrongdoing was such that people were involved in corruption, people were involved in nepotism and so on, that without hesitation will take a stance. Right now with the Market Theatre Foundation, for instance, immediately I had to relieve of the chairperson of the council and appoint somebody else, but the ones who are remaining, the CEO and CFO, are undergoing a process of disciplinary process. And we want to be firm. We want to send a message out there that don't try to do things which are not advancing what the people of this country expect of us.
Speaking of the Market Theatre, Minister, take us through the findings of that report. There are reports or allegations of racism and nepotism at the institution. What did the department find? How deeply did the rot go at the Market Theatre?
Well, it's still ongoing. As you know, that, well, as I've just said, that to the extent that the council is appointed by the minister, when the report came and made the recommendations about the chairperson, I had to take an action and relieve the chairperson of his duty. And the remaining two, which around which allegations of maladministration, of flouting the SCM processes, internal processes, of racism, and so on and so forth, of sexism. There are a number of allegations leveled around the CEO and CFO there. As we speak, they are undergoing a disciplinary process. And as I said, we will await the outcome thereof as much as we will await the outcome of National Arts Council with the CEO there. So what we've been doing is that we decided that let's go and clean up all the entities, even those which have not been reported. We did our work, followed up to see whether things are in order in those entities, as it were. And those we found that they are still on track and everything, nothing is happening. Those we discover that there are some questionable things or matters related to them, we have taken a stance of investigating and acting after those investigations.
All right, Minister, we are out of time, but just very quickly, the President at the State of the Nation address spoke on the issue of trying to really entrench a culture of reading, especially amongst young people. How is your department seeking to support what the President has said?
Well, let me start by thanking the President. He has been the support of this program of learning, and with us, the Department of Arts and Culture, reading and engaging in the whole literary space has been part and parcel of our. In fact, he came when we reintroduced, as the Deputy President then, we reintroduced the classic books in all the languages we have, particularly indigenous languages, where books like Ityala Lamawele was turning 100 years old and so on. So we are glad with his support and will continue on this path, funding organizations which are promoting literature, which are promoting literary engagement, and ensuring that the first week of September, as we do every year, we promote and identify this very important book week, so that everybody understands that we have a duty as a society to liberate ourselves, literally speaking, and ensure that our people are able to read and write.
Minister, thank you very much for your time. That was the Minister of Arts and Culture, Mthethwa, joining us from our Parliament studios as we place the spotlight on issues facing the arts and culture sector.